Welcome, adventurers, to the Explainer. I am your guild master for today's journey, and let me tell you, we are embarking on a seriously high-stakes open-world exam quest today. Our destination, the vast, sometimes treacherous terrain of the Cambridge AS and A-level mathematics syllabus. Specifically, we are dropping right into the mechanics zone, paper 9709. And waiting for us at the end of this sector is a legendary dungeon boss. Yep, you guessed it, Newton's third law. Now, you might be wondering, why treat this like a game? Well, because the difference between scraping by with a mid-tier B and securing that maximum mark A-star loot isn't just about how well you can memorize a formula off a flashcard. It's really about how deeply you understand the game engine itself. You see, the Cambridge Principal Examiner reports, I like to call them the sacred scrolls of our guild, they tell us exactly what the developers of this exam are looking for. They aren't looking for players who just, swing a sword blindly at the paper. They want players who understand the precise mechanics of every single strike. So, sit back, equip your best mental gear, calibrate your heads-up display, and let's prepare to clear this sector with an absolutely flawless run.
Here's the tactical pathway we're going to traverse today. We'll start at the quest board, move on to decoding the Elder Map, jump into the co-op cognitive raid debate, take a quick mid-quest mana recharge, and finally reach the victory screen.
Okay, let's dive into level 1, the quest board.
All right, so the fundamental theoretical architecture of Newton's third law rests heavily on precise definitions and rigorous causal relationships. Think of these core physics rules as your primary inventory for this entire mission. If your inventory is cluttered with vague ideas, like if you're just muttering every action has a reaction, without actually defining what objects are interacting, you are absolutely going to get wiped out in the very first encounter. The examiners demand that you understand causality. It's a chain reaction. Which force is actually causing the acceleration, and which force is the reaction to it? In our game world, if player A strikes player B, the game engine has to register an equal and opposite force directly back onto player A's weapon. If you can't explicitly state which two distinct bodies are interacting in your exam answer, you're essentially trying to cast a high-level spell without the necessary mana. Your foundational physics rules must be precise, targeted, and universally applicable to literally any random scenario the examiners decide to spawn on your map.
Now consider this a legendary warning rune left behind by past adventurers. The Principal Examiner report explicitly states, candidates referencing cross-topic connections achieve significantly higher marks. Listen, the examiners are practically handing you the cheat code right here. Newton's third law doesn't just exist in some isolated side quest. It is deeply integrated with the rest of the syllabus. If you can link your dynamics equations, your forces and your masses, with your kinematics equations, your velocities and accelerations, you instantly unlock a devastating combo multiplier for your final score. The highest tier of loot is strictly reserved for players who view the entire Cambridge syllabus as one giant, interconnected, breathing world rather than just a bunch of disjointed minigames.
Moving right along to level 2, decoding the Elder Map.
As you progress through this boss fight, the expectations from the examiners scale up dramatically. Let's break down the cognitive domains. First up is knowledge and understanding. This is your basic recall. Do you know the formula? Great, you get a minor baseline reward. Just a few points to get you started. Second is application. This is execution. Can you take that formula and actually plug in the specific values from the dungeon prompt? Much better. But the third domain, this is where the A-star players live. Analysis. Academic benchmarks for this topic require intense, logical, structured reasoning. The assessment framework rigorously prioritizes deep analytical evaluation over just superficial breadth. You can't just spam 3 different basic facts onto the page and hope the examiner takes pity and awards you points. They want deep, structured, multi-step critical thinking. You've really got to watch out for the command word runes here. If you misread one, for example, if the prompt clearly says evaluate and you just describe, you activate an immediate trap. Boom. You're draining your mark potential instantly because your cognitive depth is just way too shallow for that specific zone.
So how do you survive this massive escalation in difficulty? You absolutely must master the stamina pacing matrix. Think of the exam timer as your stamina bar, and it is relentlessly counting down. Here is the overarching problem-solving strategy to keep that stamina meter in the green. First, deconstruct. You identify the given information and break the complex scenario into logical, bite-sized steps. Don't rush this. Second, solve systematically. You apply the relevant principles and execute your analysis with absolute clarity in your working. Show your steps. Third, evaluate evidence. You verify your results, check for reasonableness, and formulate justified conclusions based on the data. If you panic and try to jump straight from step 1 to step 3, your stamina bar depletes, your logic completely fractures, and the examiner is going to dock your points for missing that crucial methodical progression.
All right, level 3, the co-op cognitive raid debate.
Let's look at the baseline mechanics required to actually clear a brutal, high-tariff, 8-mark sector. We call this the methodological combo move. You see, Cambridge heavily rewards what we call the method mark strategy. Marks are literally awarded for the process itself, not just the final number at the bottom of the page. Here's the highly structured procedural framework you need. Step 1, extract relevant data from the texts and tables. Step 2, select the correct analytical framework. Step 3, execute with crystal clear notation. Step 4, present your final answer with the correct format, headings, and terminology. If you follow this combo faithfully, even if your final arithmetic calculation gets a debuff and you mess up a decimal point, the game engine still rewards you with those sweet, sweet method marks.
Now, to really understand this, let's introduce our two co-op players, Alex and Sam. They're currently sitting at the tactical table trying to build an unshakable model response to clear this dungeon sector. And here's where our raid party fractures. We have player 1, Alex. Alex is our over-encumbered warrior. Alex looks at the 8-mark question and immediately starts writing out massive dictionary definition scrolls. Newton's third law states, normal contact force is defined as... Alex thinks carrying maximum inventory weight, all these raw facts, guarantees safety, but he completely lacks agility. He's providing raw facts with zero context, entirely ignoring the specific scenario of the question. Then, on the other side, we have player 2, Sam. Sam is the high-speed rogue. Sam sees the numbers, immediately punches them into a calculator, and dashes straight to the final answer. Therefore, force equals 450 newtons. Done. I can literally hear them arguing at the table right now. Alex is yelling, Sam, if we don't define the causal relationship between the car and the trailer, the examiner won't give us the foundation marks. And Sam just fires back, Alex, our stamina meter is at 15 minutes. If you write another giant paragraph defining gravity, we won't even finish the raid. The prompt says analyze, so I'm analyzing the net force immediately. So, what's happening here? Both of them are triggering massive traps. Alex is wasting precious exam time on superficial breadth that wasn't asked for. Sam is skipping mandatory puzzle requirements by failing to execute with clear notation and verify the steps. To get top-tier marks, you need Alex's precision combined with Sam's execution speed.
Now what's really interesting about this slide is how it solves their debate. Higher-order assessment objectives demand the rigorous evaluation of evidence. To actually clear the dungeon, Alex and Sam need to stop defining basic terms and stop speedrunning to the final integer. Instead, they need to identify limitations, note the exact assumptions they made, like did they assume a completely frictionless surface or maybe an inextensible string, evaluate alternative interpretations, and detail exactly how those factors affect their final conclusions. That is the true analytical framework that Cambridge requires. You have to prove to the system that you understand why the mechanics work the way they do, not just that you know how to operate a scientific calculator.
This brings us to level 4, mid-quest mono recharge and examiner traps. Okay, quest pause. Freeze the screen for just a second. Before we unlock this top-band paragraph layout to help you conquer your next Cambridge exam, we need to make sure your guild feed is perfectly optimized. Take a second right now to subscribe to Ace the Exams at the handle @AceTheExams, and make sure you enable all notifications so you never miss our weekly strategic map drops. Whether you are currently traversing IGCSE, O-levels, or AS and A-level territory, we've got the tactical blueprints you need. All right, mana recharged, let's consolidate our inventory. Remember, the mechanics engine requires absolute precision before attempting the final boss. Precise definitions fuel your method marks, but they must be applied directly to the puzzle at hand. Let's lock in for the final strike.
Before we dive into the interactive raid, I need to warn you about the top 3 trap triggers extracted directly from the principal examiner reports. Avoid these at all costs. Trap number 1, confusing cause and effect. In Newton's third law, players constantly think gravity and the normal contact force are an action-reaction pair. Guys, they are not. They act on the same body. True third law pairs act on different bodies. This causal confusion is a fatal error that will tank your score. Trap number 2, forgetting format and presentation conventions. Did you leave out clear annotations, missing proper headings? If the examiner cannot follow your combo sequence, they can't award you the method marks. And trap number 3, providing generic, contextless answers. This is the absolute classic mistake. Writing a beautiful, textbook-perfect definition that has absolutely nothing to do with the specific pulleys and masses currently in the scenario.
All right, I'm handing control over to you. It is time for a live diagnostic check. Let's do a visual radar sweep. Imagine a 60-second visual countdown is running. We have a flawed, medium-tier student response concerning 2 blocks colliding. The student has written, when block A hits block B, it exerts a force. Block B exerts a force back. Therefore, by Newton's third law, the forces are equal, meaning the acceleration will be zero. Scan that logic. The stamina bar is draining. Where is the structural precision failing? Think back to our trap runes. They extracted data, they attempted an analytical framework, but their execution has a massive, fatal flaw. Have you spotted the defective item?
Let's use our digital pointer here. The exact flaw is right at the end of the sentence, meaning the acceleration will be zero. See, the student provided a generic recitation of the forces being equal and opposite, which is technically true, but they totally failed to link that point back to the given context scenario of acceleration. They confused the whole framework. The equal and opposite forces act on different blocks. Therefore, they do not simply cancel each other out to create zero acceleration for the entire system. Block A accelerates based on its specific mass, and Block B accelerates based on its specific mass. The student fell right into trap rune number 1 and number 3 simultaneously. They lacked causal logic and failed to link every point back to the specific context.
And finally, Level 5, the victory screen and expedition outro. Alex and Sam successfully corrected their errors, achieved a full-mark quest compile, and got that maximum loot drop. And this brilliantly illustrates our 3 universal victory rules. First, the pre-quest deconstruct. Always read the command word runes carefully. Do not provide superficial breadth when the game explicitly demands deep analysis. Second, the stamina pacing matrix. Balance your inventory and your speed. Don't be Alex, carrying too many generic definitions, and don't be Sam, rushing past the critical method marks. Move logically from extraction to execution to evaluation. And third, the post-quest presentation review. Ensure your causal relationships are bulletproof, your formatting follows conventions, and every single point you make is explicitly linked to the context of the scenario. No generic textbook answers allowed. Your map is updated, and the ultimate strategies for Mechanics 9709 are now yours to command. But before we log off, I want to leave you with this thought. If Newton's third law literally governs every physical interaction in the known universe, how might understanding these precise causal relationships change not just your exam grade, but the way you view every physical interaction in the real world around you? Think about it. Don't forget to subscribe to Ace the Exams, hit that notification bell for our weekly Level Up Masterclasses, and drop a comment below telling me exactly which Cambridge subject and level you are preparing to conquer next. Until next time, happy questing!